All right, music fans, welcome back. All five of you. Harmless Dave here talking about real music in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. All right, so is Journey walking back the commotion? Jonathan Cain has made a statement, or his attorney has decided to clarify a few things in this episode of As the Journey Turns. All right, now before I get to the meat and potatoes, here is an appetizer. This is a great band you should check out called The Great Divide. I even got the t shirt. I like the band so much. And this album is called Providence. It came out about 2 years ago, and it's just really good. Still getting some airplay on red dirt radio stations in the great state of Texas. If you like Tom Petty, Hank Williams, Steve Earle, and maybe a punky attitude, maybe like some mid 80s John Mellencamp, not that he's punky. Well, he is kind of punky, but he's not punk rock. Anyway, this has got some great melodies and just it plays well. It listens well, it plays well and listens well, and it's kind of unique, and it's something that maybe you should check out. So again, Great Divide and their album called Providence. Now, I don't know if Providence is really involved with Journey these days. Seems like maybe a different location might be more influential to Journey, even though Jonathan Cain is your Christian leader in the band, although I believe Arnell and Dean have also expressed their love for Jesus. So that's a good thing, right? Journey's Jonathan Cain explains the reason for the lawsuit against bandmate Neil Schon. Now, I think this clarification is because people like me keep doing videos about this topic, and maybe fans are getting a little bit, I don't know, just tired of it's drama fatigue, like I've said in other videos. So Jonathan Cain is talking about why he filed this lawsuit. Actually, it's a statement from Cain's attorney, Sid Liebesman. That's just a great, sounds more like a name for an accountant, Sid Liebesman, but attorney Liebesman, Liebesman, and Liebesman, and Liebesman, like Morgan and Morgan, something like that. But definitely a great name for an attorney. Says the suit was filed to request the court appoint a third independent director to serve on the board of Freedom 2020, Inc., the corporate entity through which Journey primarily conducts the band's business. The statement adds that there has been growing issues between Neil and John due to them being the sole directors of the company. Now, that's a little different than, hey, Neil's spending too much money. There's just growing issues between Neil and John because they're in charge, they're directing. And so this person, I've been calling them an arbitrator. They're using the term independent director. So if Neil's a director and John's a director, they're bringing in a third wheel to be yet another director. I don't know how this is going to be good. No claims against Neil were asserted in the petition, and the only form of relief sought is the appointment of a third director. Cain's suit, which was filed July 24th, claims Schon has made several financial decisions costing the band money, including maxing out $1 million limit on the company's American Express card, going over the band's $1,500 a night max hotel fee, chartering private jets, and more. It also claims Schon has stopped attempts to pay off the band's debts. That sounds bizarre to me. Why would you do that? The court docs describe the issues as very much a public battle between the petitioner and the respondent, and this is impacting the band's reputation throughout the music industry. Well, I'll address that momentarily. The band's actual onstage performance is, at the moment, one of the only aspects of the business that has not suffered. Now, this idea that this is impacting the band's reputation throughout the music industry. Well, Joe Elliott actually had something to say about this because he's on tour with Journey, fronting Def Leppard. He said that if he were in a band and these problems existed, he wouldn't know how to go on stage with these people. If he didn't like the other guys, he says, I wouldn't be able to perform with them. So there is no chemistry in Journey. I'm sorry, there's very little chemistry in Journey. Most of that chemistry is going to come from like the grunt players in the band, like Dean on drums or Arnell. Maybe they have Todd, the bass player. I mean, those guys have the chemistry and they're kind of just doing their job and trying to be um, a little bit more expressive out there. They're the ones that bring the energy to the stage. And not to say Neil playing great guitar solos and John playing great keyboard solos, those things aren't important. But as far as like the on stage stuff, the stage persona, the stage presence, it's really the other guys in the band that create that atmosphere more so than Neil and John. Um, so, yeah, it hasn't suffered all that much. I would say this: any controversy tends to keep the band in the news. So, Journey, which sometimes isn't talked about for a day or two, all of a sudden they're back in the news because of something like this. And I made this statement a couple of years ago because it's a formula. If you keep talking about the other guy in the band and you're upset with him and vice versa, it goes back and forth. That gets in the news and people start to think about Journey. Whether that means they're going to sell more tickets or not is another variable here. It's another issue, but for the most part, I think it just keeps the band in the forefront of people's minds. And then they say, hey, why don't we go see Journey? We'll see if Neil and John are going to fight on stage. Now, that would never happen, but I don't think it would happen. But just the possibility that, hey, maybe you'll see a little on-stage tension, for some people, that might be interesting for them. I mean, especially if you've seen this band a number of times, yeah, you're going to hear Don't Stop Believin'. But wouldn't it be cool if, say, Neil walked over to John and smashed his guitar over John's keyboards? Wouldn't that be fun? That would be a news story for a month, right? You know, and Neil has a lot of guitars. So if he got really upset, he could probably waste a couple. That's never going to happen. At least I don't think so. I think Neil just likes all of his guitars too much to do that. I mean, if he were Pete Townsend, he would do it in a heartbeat, I believe. Anyway, Liebesman, the attorney, his statements are basically part of this idea that they hope a third party will provide resolution to the issues between John and Neil. He adds, none of the parties are seeking any form of damages. So this is clarifying that John's not suing Neil for the back money, right? He's not saying, hey, Neil, pay us back. I don't think Neil could pay anybody back. It's John's intent for Journey to continue providing great live music throughout the current tour. Now, this also sets John up as the responsible person in the band. He's trying to make sure that the books are balanced and that they're profitable and that money's literally not flying out the window, which it probably is at the hotel room. So he's looking like the responsible adult in the room, whereas it says here that Neil Schon has stopped attempts to pay off the band's debt. Again, that's an allegation. I don't know if it's true or not, but just the allegations are crazy. And if, you know, a little bit is true, again, this doesn't look good for Neil Schon. But again, Neil will probably make a statement on this. And my guess is he might push back on Cain and say all the stuff that Cain's doing wrong, or he may just keep quiet and let this thing blow over. But this information is out there, and walking it back to make it look like, hey, this isn't really us trying to get money back from Neil. It's just that we need to appoint this extra director. So now you can have three directors. You can have Neil and John and this third party guy. And they're hoping that the third party guy can help resolve the problems. And like I always say with Journey, time will tell. We'll see. It's maybe not the end of Journey yet, but I think this is a bad precedent. And I've said, before, this all depends if Neil just decides to, keep going and not cause a big stir, these guys will continue. I don't know how you work with somebody though, knowing that they've done these things or making these kinds of accusations, and you walk in a room with them and you're like, hey, we're going to play music together. By the way, you maxed out the $1 million credit card and I just called you out on it. I mean, how do you work with somebody like that? Not to say that it is Neil's fault or he definitely did this stuff, but if you're making those kinds of allegations, you must have receipts somewhere. Anyway, just trying to go through this and see if there's some logic to what they're doing. It does keep the band in the news, so that could be the main reason, because now they're trying to walk it back a little bit and say, no, we're not going to sue Neil or anything like that. We just want this third party to oversee everything. That way it'll be fair, and we won't worry about if Neil is spending $1 million on the credit card, because there'll be a third party who's given him permission to do that. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. All right, one more time for The Great Divide, their album Providence. Check it out. You could stream it where all music is streamed, and you can even purchase a CD. I believe I got this off of Amazon, and they sent it right away. So, again, I'm not a big fan of the ownership of Amazon, but it's a really good business model. If you buy a CD, gets there the next day, that's pretty good, right? I can't complain too much about that. And so complaining, I do mostly about politics, and we need to pray for our country and our world as the political scene and just the geopolitical world and the wars and all that stuff. It's too much. It's like overload. And it's a lot better, I think, to maybe just put your head in the sand and crank up some good music. And if all else fails, we've got our music. And for some of you, you've got your adult beverages. I'm not advocating. I'm just saying, for even a few of you, you've got other things that you do. You're going to the CBD store or whatever. I don't know. The occasional energy drink right now is pretty much all I can take. So God bless everyone. Stay safe, and don't go to CVS. That's my ongoing advice.